What's up everybody, Rob here. So this is just a video. I've not really planned this out. It's just a quick thing I'm going to throw out there just for the sake of putting it out there. Came to my mind a couple hours ago and I figured I'd share it with all of you. I've not scripted this, I'm just going to be ad-libbing, so here we go. So I'm going to be talking about dual wielding and why it's probably not the best of ideas. Now I'm not talking about dual wielding things like swords or axes or any sort of medieval style weapons or melee weapons, anything like that. No, I'm talking about dual wielding firearms. Now, of course, when handling firearms, make sure you follow the 4 universal firearm safety rules. They are in the description right now. Follow them, read over it. It'll take you like 5 seconds to do it. Don't become a statistic. Don't be stupid, all right? I come out here, I'm talking about firearms. Don't be stupid, all right? So, dual wielding pretty much means using a weapon in each hand. In this particular case, a firearm in each hand. So, we got firearms right here. And if you've played video games, movies, TV shows. I've never read any books where anybody did this. If you've ever read a book where somebody did this, I'll leave it in the description. But there you go. Any case, so you have basically you have the protagonist or whomever it is. He's got the firearms and he's firing. He's bang 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 bang, pew 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 pew, and then they're pew pew pew, and then pew pew, and they do this weird thing like when they walk into a room or something like that. They kick the door in, and then they cross their arms over each other like this, and they're like pew 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 pew, like they're shooting 2 directions at once, and pew pew, and then pew pew pew, and then they jump. They do the jump and the pew 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 pew, and it looks really cool until you actually learn how firearms actually work and the limitations of human biology, etc., etc. And you realize how utterly ridiculous it is. Now, I'm not an expert on firearms, not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm more of an enthusiastic amateur, but I figured I'd share what I know with all of you, and I doubt there's an expert out there that would disagree with me on these points. Now, the first question you have to ask is, why would someone want to dual wield beyond just looking cool? And the answer, I think, would be increased rate of fire. So you have 2 firearms, both firing at the same thing at the same time, bang, 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 bang. Okay, that's all well and good, and you do get extra fire down range, but these are you would have to be, but these are, semi-auto. I'm going to semi-violate one of the rules here. I am going to be squeezing the trigger here. Don't worry, this is unloaded. Alright, so ready? And I'm going to be squeezing the trigger here. Right, ready? You can get more than a sufficient amount of lead towards the target. You don't need the second firearm. Accuracy is far more important than volume. Unless you're like me and you suck, in which case, both help. Trust me. Yes, but unless you're suppressing a target or something like that, you're trying to keep like a machine gun nest pinned down while other people maneuver towards it. You actually, bullets only count if you actually hit something. This ain't horseshoes and this ain't hand grenades. Close doesn't count. If the bullet doesn't actually hit its target, it's not helping. So yes, if you are dual wielding, you may be able to increase the rate of fire, but if you have something like a semi-auto, well, that's really not that much of a difference. You can get more than a sufficient amount of fire power in the direction you want without any further detriments. A semi-auto is sufficient to do the job in 99% of cases. Unless we're talking you're suppressing a machine gun nest or something like that, in which case, it's a whole different situation, and you really need to ask where you are at that point. So, rate of fire, yes, you do get a slight increase in the rate of fire, but I just don't personally think that it's particularly worth it, given what I'm about to talk to you next, and that is the main reason why dual wielding does not work. And that's to do with human biology, or specifically the human eye, or eyes. Now, the human eyes each collect data. Light hits the various cells and receptors in the eyes, and it's absorbed and then gets sent to the brain through optic nerves and a whole bunch of things. Basically, this eye collects data, this eye collects data, it gets processed in the brain, and then you get an image of what's going on around you. Vastly oversimplified, but more or less that's how it happens. I have a master's in history, not biology. But anyway, it's important to note that the human eye, both eyes, are linked to one another. So if one eye goes to one direction, the other eye's following it. You cannot split your eyes and make them go in 2 separate directions at once. Slight exception is if you cross your eyes, and if you'll notice when you do that, your vision becomes very blurred. And the reason is, again, it's getting mixed signals from this eye and this eye, and they're going 2 different directions, and the brain gets confused and doesn't know what to do, so the whole thing gets screwed up. So, the ultimate point here, though, is the human eye can only focus on one thing at a time. Now, the way firearms work is you have 2 parts of it, 2 particular parts here you got to worry about, and that is the front sight and the rear sight. So the front sight, you can see here, it's got this particular one has this little green dot right there, and you got these two little green dots right there. These are glow-in-the-dark German engineering. It's awesome. You want the rear sights to be out of focus, and you want the target that you're shooting at to be somewhat out of focus. You don't need to pick up every detail. You just need to know that it's, you know, whatever it is you're shooting at, and you want to focus clearly on the front sight right there. Now, focus on this and line it up with these two. It's hard to keep this steady here. I'm trying to see. I have a mirror behind that I'm trying to focus this. Yeah, like the screen on the camera is now reflecting off the mirror in the back, and it's weird. But anyway, you have everything lined up. Once everything is lined up, that's when you hit the trigger. So, in order to do that from a proper shooting stance, would be here, and now I'm right eye dominant, which means that just like hands, like people are right-handed, left-handed, they are also eye dominant. Most people are same side dominant. There are people who are cross eye dominant as well. In my particular case, I am right eye dominant. I'm also right-handed, so like the overwhelming majority of the population. So I'm focusing using primarily my right eye is focused right here on the front sight. Okay, everything is in line. I'm focused on the front sight. I can see blurred the two rear sights, the two dots there, and I can see the target, which in this particular case is the camera lens. I line up everything and then I squeeze the trigger. Now, that's all well and good. That's how optics works, and that's how the sight works with firearms. What does this have to do with dual wielding? Well, pretty much everything. So now I have two firearms, and I'm shooting. Which one do I fire? Which one do I focus on first? Remember, I can only focus on one thing at a time. So if I'm focusing on the front sight on this one, I'm not focusing on the front sight on this one. Now, because I'm not ambidextrous, maybe if with enough training I can switch between right eye and left eye, but that's really, really awkward. If I stay, and remember, my left eye is not that strong compared to my right eye, so I want to stay right eye dominant as much as possible and focus with my right eye, so I'd have to switch from here and then here. And so bang, 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 bang. I'm kind of exaggerating the movement here, but you see what's happening. Bang, 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 bang. I can only focus on one thing at a time. So that completely throws off my sight picture by having to switch back and forth between one and the other, and it's really, I don't see any particular advantage in doing so. So I think that would be the big problem, just simply an inability to actually, focus on the proper sight, get the proper sight picture, and actually be able to, see what it is you're shooting at. And even a few degrees, change it. If I'm here, over a distance, if I'm shooting at something really far distant out there, okay, 1 or 2 degrees, I'm not very far off right now, off of where I was, but I'm about 2-3 degrees. If you go about a couple yards out there, I might be missing the target altogether. Just a slight little here to here, or whatever, is more than enough to completely miss a target. Or instead of hitting the center of mass, I'll hit the lung, instead of the heart, which may be fatal. Yes, getting shot in the lung is fatal. It's not necessarily fatal, but this is possibly an insta-kill, or if not insta-kill, it'll take them down pretty quickly. The person might step forward and still be able to, close the distance. So it's just, it might mean that few degree difference might mean the difference between life and death. Which, again, it's very difficult to focus on what it is I'm shooting at when I have to constantly keep switching back and forth between one and the other. And it's really, really awkward and very, very difficult to do. And I've shared this anecdote on a previous video, but the first time I went shooting, I actually, in the 6 rounds of the revolver, I missed the sheet of paper entirely at 5 yards I completely missed the paper altogether because I was that far off. Now, in the heat of a battle, and presuming the person who's doing this is well trained, they may not miss, but it just goes to show you that a few degrees off you can completely screw up whatever it is you're doing. So small changes do lead to very large results, and not always for the better. Now, the other issue with dual wielding has to do with reloading. Now, if you've got most of your information from, say, movies or TV shows, let me explain something to you. Firearms do not run out of ammunition because the plot requires it. They run out of ammunition because you run out of ammunition. You have a limited magazine capacity, and when you exceed that magazine capacity, the firearm stops working. in order to continue firing, you need to, well, reload. So you're there, you're firing, you're pew, 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 and you're somehow able to, duck back and forth between the two, and you can kind of focus on both, find your metahuman or something fine. And it's time to reload. And now just assume these things would be locked back, the slides would be locked back here. And then you would reload, and then it's kind of awkward, which is a slight other detail too, is you would have to be ambidextrous to be able to do this. I am not. I am right-handed like majority of the population. But if someone is ambidextrous, okay, fine. But it is something to think about. But you hit the lever or the button, and one of them almost dropped on my foot. That's great. But great. There's no magazine present. You have to then take a new magazine and oh yeah. Hold on, just 1 second. Let me just empty mag, so it's going to be locked back, but there you go. And just 1 second. And then and then now you're back into the fight. Okay, and then again you fire. Oh look, they're already locked back, so I can demonstrate it now a lot better. But here, you hit the buttons, you do the thing. They come out. Then you gotta put one down, take the new magazine, load the new magazine in. Put that one down, take the new magazine, slam it in. The point being though, in this though, is that it's very cumbersome and awkward. You have to, you can unlock the magazines, take the magazines out. Okay, great, they slide out through gravity, fine. And then, okay, you gotta fumble around, you gotta put one down, or kind of try to grab it with one hand. I got the magazines for the one, and you take the magazines and you fumble it in while holding one or whatever it is, or you just put the firearm down. You got to put the new magazine in, slide the racket or hit the lever, thing slides forward, and put that down, reload the other one, pick it up, and then you're back in business. Now, if you're dealing with a single firearm and you don't have to put everything down, you have here fire. Okay, great. Take magazine, new mag goes in. Okay, again, magazines can be open. You hit the button, magazine pops out, you take the new magazine, good to go. Out, in, out, in. It requires much less effort. You don't have to fumble around, you don't have to stumble, and you can actually be back into the fight more often. So, kind of just goes back to the first point. You have this increased rate of fire from dual wielding. While you're firing, yeah, you might, but overall your rate of fire is actually to be much, much diminished. And your ability to reload is severely hampered at this point. So really, that goes into diminishing returns territory. Any advantage you got from firing two firearms at the same time is going to be completely negated once you run out of ammo and it comes time to reload. So yeah, there you go. So it just doesn't make sense at all. And if you notice, whenever they do this in video games, they just they have you here, you're here, and then they just drop down below, and then you're up again. And then when you reload, you just drop. You don't see what's going on. You don't see the manipulating and the stupidity and everything involved with that. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, overall, dual wielding is at best it's a waste of time. At worst, it's probably going to get somebody killed. Don't ever do it. There's a very specific reason why militaries and police forces don't do it. Also, the reason is, of course, the expense. You have to, you pay for all that extra stuff, and it's expensive enough for a while, but don't ever rely on it. So overall, just a real quick video. I just want to point out that dual wielding is, in fact, relatively pointless. I'm sure most of you knew that anyway, but I figured I'd talk about it anyway. I really didn't know what else to do a video on, to be perfectly frank with you. I have other ideas, they're coming online, but they're taking more time, and personal life is, things have been kind of hectic lately. So just a quick video to throw out for you guys. Sorry if I rambled a bit, but what can you expect from me? Any case, hit the like and subscribe button. More videos will be coming out whenever I get around to it, and that's pretty much it. Have a good day, or don't have a good day. You're adults. Have any kind of day you want. See you later.